I stood at the back of the funeral home, watching my mother's casket like it might suddenly burst into flames. Honestly, I was hoping it would. At least then this whole charade would match the hell she'd put me through for the past 13 years. My name is Teresa, and I was about to become the most hated woman in this room. The funny thing, I'd been planning this moment longer than my mother had been dying. Teresa, sweetheart, you look so thin. My cousin Lindsay appeared beside me, her voice dripping with fake concern. Are you eating enough? Running all those fitness studios must be exhausting. I'm fine. I kept my eyes on the casket. Mom looked peaceful, more peaceful than she'd ever looked when she was choosing him over me. Your mother loved you, you know. She talked about you all the time. I finally turned to look at Lindsay. Really? Because the last time we spoke, she told me I was being dramatic about Dad's death, said I needed to move on and accept Elias as family. Lindsay's smile faltered. Well, grief makes people say things. Grief didn't make her marry the man who destroyed my father 6 months after the divorce was finalized. The room had that heavy, floral smell that funeral homes pump in to mask the scent of death and regret. I'd been breathing it for an hour, listening to people who hadn't spoken to my mother in years suddenly become experts on her character. Teresa. The voice behind me made my spine stiffen. Elias, my stepfather. The man who'd convinced a judge that my dad was an unfit parent while secretly draining his retirement account. I turned around slowly. At 63, Elias still carried himself like the hotshot lawyer he used to be. Gray hair perfectly styled, expensive suit, that same condescending smile that had haunted my nightmares. I'm surprised you came, he said, given how you felt about your mother's choices. She was still my mother. Yes, well. He glanced around the room, then back at me. I think it's best if you pay your respects and go. This is a time for family to grieve together. I am family. Elias's smile turned sharp. You're just the daughter, Teresa. Your mother and I built a life together. These people, he gestured to the crowd of relatives and family friends, they're here for both of us. You've been estranged for years. Uncle Marcus nodded from across the room. So did Uncle James. Even my godmother Desiree looked away when I caught her eye. 13 years of Elias's version of events had poisoned them all against me. Just the daughter, I repeated slowly. That's right. So I think it's best. You know what's interesting about being just the daughter, Elias? I reached into my purse and pulled out a manila envelope. Daughters inherit things. His face went pale. What are you talking about? The vacation villa in Monterey, the one you've been using as your personal retreat for the past 5 years. I held up the envelope. I bought it last week. The conversations around us started dying down. People were turning to watch. That's impossible. The owner would never sell to me? I smiled. You're right. He wouldn't sell to Teresa Campbell, but he was very happy to sell to TC Holdings LLC. Funny how shell companies work, isn't it? You should know, being a lawyer and all. Elias's hand trembled slightly as he reached for the envelope. You can't be serious. Oh, I'm dead serious. That's your eviction notice. You have until Tuesday to remove your belongings. I leaned closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. All those weekends you spent there with your secretary while Mom was getting chemo? I have photos. His face went from pale to gray. Teresa, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. I stepped back, speaking loud enough for everyone to hear again. I understand that you convinced my mother to put the villa in your name while she was sedated on pain medication. I understand that you've been using it as collateral for loans she never knew about. And I understand that as of Tuesday, you'll be homeless. The room had gone completely silent now. Even the funeral director had stopped arranging flowers to listen. This is neither the time nor the place, Uncle Marcus started. You're right, I said. looking directly at him. The time was 13 years ago, when you all watched this man destroy my father and said nothing. The place was the courtroom where you testified on his behalf. I turned back to Elias, who was clutching the eviction notice like it might disappear. You wanted to play family patriarch? You wanted to erase my father's memory and pretend you built everything yourself? I smiled, and I knew it looked as cold as I felt. Game on. I walked toward the exit, my heels clicking against the marble floor. Behind me, I could hear Elias frantically opening the envelope, the paper rustling as he read the legal documents that would strip away his sanctuary. At the door, I paused and looked back at the room full of people who'd chosen sides long ago. Oh, and Elias? That was only the first domino. The drive back to my apartment gave me exactly 23 minutes to remember why I'd spent 13 years planning this moment. 23 minutes to relive the day my world imploded. I was 18 when Mom served Dad the divorce papers. 18 when she moved in with Elias 3 weeks later. 18 when I watched my father crumble in a courtroom while his own wife testified against him. Your Honor, Mom had said, her voice steady and cold, my husband has become increasingly unstable. He's made poor financial decisions that have jeopardized our family's security. Poor financial decisions. That's what she called Dad investing his retirement savings in Elias's startup law firm, the same firm that conveniently went bankrupt right after the divorce, leaving Dad with nothing and Elias with a thriving solo practice. My phone buzzed as I pulled into my parking garage. Isaiah. How did it go? His voice was careful, like he was talking to someone holding a live grenade. Phase 1 complete. He has the eviction notice. And? He looked like he was about to throw up. It was beautiful. Isaiah had been my business partner for 5 years, but more importantly, he was the only person who knew the full scope of what I'd been planning. While other people built vision boards, I'd built a war room. Teresa, are you sure about this? Once you cross certain lines? I crossed the line 13 years ago when I decided to survive instead of forgive. I hung up and walked into my apartment. The walls were covered with photos of my fitness studios, awards, newspaper clippings about my business success. But in the corner, almost hidden, was a single framed photo of Dad and me at my high school graduation. He looked so proud, so hopeful. He died 3 years later. Overdose. The coroner called it accidental, but I knew better. Dad had been swallowing pills to numb the pain of losing everything long before his heart finally stopped. My laptop chimed with an email notification. I opened it and smiled. The security footage from the villa had uploaded perfectly. 3 days ago, I'd driven to Monterey alone. The villa was everything I remembered from childhood visits. Sprawling deck, ocean view, the tire swing Dad had hung from the old oak tree. But it was also something else now. Evidence. I'd used my key, the one Mom never knew I'd kept, to get inside. The safe was exactly where Elias always kept it, behind the fake electrical panel in the master bedroom. The combination was pathetically easy. Mom's birthday. Inside, I found exactly what I'd hoped for. Financial documents dating back 15 years, investment records, and most importantly, the original partnership agreement between Dad and Elias, signed in blood-red ink. You always were too trusting, Dad, I'd whispered, photographing every page. But that wasn't the real treasure. The real treasure was the second safe, the one Elias thought no one knew about. The one hidden behind the wine rack in the basement. My phone rang. Lindsay. Teresa, what the hell was that back there? That was me taking out the trash. Elias is family now. He's been good to your mother. He's been good to himself. There's a difference. You can't just kick him out of the villa. He has rights. Actually, he doesn't. The villa was purchased with funds from Dad's retirement account. Funds that Elias helped himself to during the divorce proceedings. I pulled up the bank records on my laptop. I have the paper trail, Lindsay. Every transaction, every forged signature, every lie. Silence on the other end. You don't know what you're talking about, she finally said, but her voice had lost its conviction. I know that Elias billed Dad for legal services he never provided. I know he convinced Mom to sign power of attorney papers while she was on morphine. And I know you helped him do it. Teresa, the villa sale goes through Tuesday. After that, we'll see what other interesting documents surface. I hung up and opened my laptop. The folder labeled Project Karma contained 3 years of meticulous research, bank records, medical files, recorded phone calls, witness statements, everything I needed to dismantle Elias's life piece by piece. My doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a young man in a cheap suit holding a briefcase. Teresa Campbell? Yes. Zachary Dunn. I worked for Elias Santiago's law firm. He looked nervous, sweating despite the cool evening. I need to talk to you. I opened the door wider. Come in. He sat on my couch, briefcase clutched in his lap like a shield. I heard what happened at the funeral today, about the villa. News travels fast. I've been working on some of Elias's old cases, including your parents' divorce. He opened the briefcase with shaking hands. I found things that should never have been filed. He pulled out a manila folder thick with documents, fabricated billing records, forged medical evaluations, witness statements that were never actually given. I took the folder, my hands surprisingly steady. Why are you showing me this? Because I became a lawyer to help people, not destroy them. He stood up. Your father didn't deserve what happened to him. And you deserve to know the truth. After he left, I sat alone with the documents spread across my coffee table. Each page was another nail in Elias's coffin. Another piece of evidence that my father had been systematically destroyed by the people he trusted most. I picked up my phone and scrolled to a number I'd been saving for the right moment. Raphael Foster, estate attorney. Mr. Foster, this is Teresa Campbell. I believe you're handling my mother's estate. Yes, I am. My condolences on your loss. Thank you. I have some documents I think you need to see. Documents that might affect the estate distribution. What kind of documents? I smiled, looking at the evidence scattered across my table. The kind that prove my stepfather isn't who he claims to be. I'm not done, not even close. Raphael's office smelled like leather and old money, the kind of place where rich people came to make sure their secrets stayed buried with them. Too bad for Elias that I learned how to dig. These documents are quite serious, Ms. Campbell. Raphael adjusted his glasses, studying the papers I'd brought. If authentic, they suggest significant financial misconduct. They're authentic. I have the originals, plus digital copies stored in 3 separate locations. Isaiah sat beside me, his laptop open, ready to present the financial trail we'd spent months constructing. He'd been skeptical about this meeting, worried we were moving too fast, but I'd waited 13 years. Fast was relative. Walk me through this again, Raphael said. You're claiming that Mr. Santiago fraudulently obtained access to your father's retirement funds? Not claiming, proving. I nodded to Isaiah. The timeline is clear, Isaiah said, pulling up a spreadsheet. March 2010, Oakley Campbell invests $400,000 in Santiago Legal Services. April 2010, Lena Campbell files for divorce. May 2010, the law firm mysteriously dissolves, but Elias Santiago opens a solo practice with exactly $400,000 in startup capital. Raphael frowned. That could be coincidental. Could be, except for this. I slid another document across his desk. Elias's business loan application from May 2010. He listed Lena Campbell as a co-signer and guarantor. Problem is, she was still married to my father when he applied for the loan. And this, Isaiah clicked to another screen. The villa purchased in 2011, bought with funds from a joint account that Elias opened, using power of attorney documents signed while Lena was hospitalized for a nervous breakdown. Raphael was quiet for a long moment, studying the documents. How did you obtain these records? Zachary Dunn. He worked at Elias's firm until yesterday. Apparently, his conscience finally kicked in. And the villa sale you mentioned at the funeral? I smiled. TC Holdings LLC purchased the property last week for $1.2 million. Cash sale, no inspection, closed in 3 days. TC Holdings being my company. Technically, I now own the property that Elias has been using as his personal retreat for 5 years. The same property he's been claiming as a business expense on his tax returns. Raphael set down the papers. Ms. Campbell, what exactly are you hoping to accomplish here? Justice. My father lost everything because of Elias's lies. His money, his reputation, his will to live. I want it all exposed. And if I refuse to act on this information, then I take it to the State Bar Association and the IRS and the local news stations. I leaned forward, but I'd rather handle this through proper legal channels first. Give Elias a chance to explain himself. My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. We need to talk. I showed the screen to Isaiah, who raised an eyebrow. Speak of the devil, I said. Raphael cleared his throat. I'll need time to review these documents thoroughly, and I'll need to speak with Mr. Santiago before making any decisions about the estate. Of course. Take all the time you need. I stood up, gathering my copies of the documents. But just so we're clear, the villa eviction stands. He has until Tuesday. As we walked to the parking garage, Isaiah finally spoke. You know he's going to fight back, right? Elias isn't going to just roll over and accept this. I'm counting on it. The angrier he gets, the more mistakes he'll make. My phone rang. Elias. Teresa, we need to talk. I'm listening. Not over the phone. Meet me at the villa. 1 hour. Your villa? The one you need to vacate by Tuesday? This is serious, Teresa. There are things you don't understand about your parents' marriage. Things your mother never told you. Such as the fact that she asked me to help her leave your father years before the divorce. She was afraid of him, Teresa. Afraid of what he might do if he found out about the money. I stopped walking. What money? Meet me at the villa. Come alone, and I'll explain everything. The line went dead. Isaiah grabbed my arm. Don't even think about it. This is obviously a trap. Maybe. Or maybe Elias is finally ready to tell the truth. Teresa, you can't trust him. Not after everything he's done. I looked at my phone, then at Isaiah. What if he's right? What if there's more to the story? Then he can tell it to Raphael, with lawyers present. Not in some isolated villa where no one can hear you scream. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Elias. Your father wasn't the man you think he was. Ask yourself why your mother really left him. I stared at the message, feeling something cold settle in my stomach. Isaiah, I need you to do something for me. What? Go to the villa, but don't go inside. Park across the street and watch. If I'm not out in 30 minutes, call the police. Teresa, and if something happens to me, make sure those documents get to every news outlet in the state. I was already walking toward my car when Isaiah called after me. This is insane. You're walking into an ambush. I turned back to him. Maybe, but I've spent 13 years wondering what really happened in my family. If Elias wants to finally tell the truth, I'm going to listen. And if he's lying, I smiled grimly, then I'll make sure it's the last lie he ever tells. The drive to Monterey took 45 minutes. 45 minutes to wonder if I was about to learn something that would change everything I thought I knew about my parents. Or 45 minutes to drive straight into the trap that would end my revenge before it really began. The villa looked different in the late afternoon light, smaller somehow, less intimidating than it had seemed when I was a kid visiting with Dad. Elias's black Mercedes was already in the driveway. I parked behind it, blocking his exit. If this was going to be a confrontation, he wasn't leaving until I was ready. The front door was unlocked. I found Elias on the deck, staring out at the ocean with a glass of whiskey in his hand. He looked older than he had at the funeral. Tired. "You came," he said without turning around. "You said you had something to tell me about my parents." He gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit, please." I remained standing. "Talk." Elias took a long sip of his whiskey. "Your mother came to me in 2009, a year before the divorce. She was terrified, Teresa. Shaking like a leaf. Terrified of what? Your father had been stealing money from his clients' accounts. Small amounts at first, then larger sums. She discovered it by accident when she was doing their taxes." I felt my chest tighten. "You're lying." She brought me bank statements, transaction records, everything. Oakley had been embezzling from his accounting firm for 3 years. Elias finally turned to face me. "She wanted to know what would happen if she reported it." "And what did you tell her?" "That he'd go to prison, that the scandal would destroy both of them, that she needed to get as far away from him as possible before it all came crashing down." My hands were shaking. "So you convinced her to divorce him and steal his money instead?" "I convinced her to protect herself. The retirement account, the investments. That money was already stolen, Teresa, from his clients. If she hadn't moved it, the FBI would have seized it anyway." "The FBI?" Elias reached into his jacket and pulled out a manila folder. "The investigation started in 2011, 2 years after your mother left him. They found evidence of systematic embezzlement going back 5 years. He handed me the folder. Inside were photocopies of FBI documents, bank records, client statements. My father's name was highlighted throughout. "This is fake," I said, but my voice sounded hollow even to me. "Check the case number. Call the FBI field office in San Francisco. Ask them about Oakley Campbell." I stared at the documents, my vision blurring. "Even if this is true, that doesn't excuse what you did. The lies in court, the forged documents." "What forged documents?" "Zachary showed me everything. The fake billing records, the fabricated witness statements." Elias set down his glass. "Zachary Dunn was fired last week for falsifying client files." "Did he mention that?" The folder slipped from my hands, papers scattering across the deck. "What?" "He's been under investigation by the state bar for 6 months. Billing fraud, document tampering, client theft. He's facing disbarment and criminal charges." My phone buzzed. Text message from Isaiah. "Where are you? It's been 45 minutes. I typed back. "Still talking. Give me more time." Elias was watching me carefully. "Your mother loved you, Teresa. But she was protecting you from the truth about your father. She thought if you knew what he'd really done—" "Stop." I held up my hand. "Just stop talking." I walked to the edge of the deck, gripping the railing. The ocean stretched endlessly in front of me, waves crashing against the rocks below. Everything I'd believed, everything I'd planned, was it all based on lies? "Teresa." Elias's voice was softer now. "I know you hate me. I know you blame me for your father's death. But he was already destroying himself long before your mother left him." "Then why didn't you tell me this 13 years ago?" "Because you were 18 and grieving. Because your mother begged me not to destroy your memory of him. Because sometimes the truth hurts more than the lie." I turned back to face him. "And now? Now you're trying to destroy my life based on false information from a disgraced lawyer. Now I have no choice." My phone rang. Lindsay. "Teresa, Where are you? Elias missed his birthday dinner. Everyone's worried. His what? His birthday dinner. The family gathering at the country club. He was supposed to be there an hour ago. I looked at Elias, who was checking his watch with a frown. I completely forgot, he said. Lindsay organized it weeks ago. We're at the villa, I told Lindsay. We'll be there soon. Both of you? Together? Teresa, that's wonderful. Maybe you two can finally work things out. After I hung up, Elias stood and straightened his tie. Come with me to dinner. Let me introduce you to the family as my stepdaughter, not my enemy. Why would you want that? Because despite everything, you're Lena's daughter, and she loved you more than you'll ever know. I looked at the scattered FBI documents on the deck. What about these? Keep them. Verify them. Do whatever you need to do. He walked toward the door, then paused. But Teresa, when you're ready to hear the whole truth about your parents' marriage, I'll be here. 20 minutes later, we were driving to the country club in separate cars. My head was spinning with questions, doubts, possibilities I hadn't considered. Had I spent 13 years planning revenge against the wrong person? Had my father really been a criminal? Had my mother been protecting me all along? My phone buzzed with another text from Isaiah. Something's wrong. Zachary Dunn was arrested this morning. Wire fraud and embezzlement. I pulled over to the side of the road, hands shaking as I typed back, What do you mean arrested? It's all over the legal news sites. He's been running a scam for months, selling fake documents to people with grudges against lawyers. I stared at my phone screen, feeling the ground shift beneath me. Everything I thought I knew was crumbling. And I was about to walk into a room full of family members who might have been protecting me from the truth all along. The country club dining room buzzed with conversation and clinking glasses. I spotted the family immediately. They'd taken over the entire back section, balloons and flowers marking Elias's 64th birthday celebration. Lindsay waved me over enthusiastically. Teresa, you made it. Uncle Marcus stood up, looking genuinely surprised. Well, I'll be damned. Didn't expect to see you here after this afternoon's drama. Drama has a way of bringing families together, I said, taking the empty seat between my godmother, Desiree, and my young cousin, Zoe. Elias arrived 10 minutes later, apologizing profusely for being late. The family welcomed him with warm hugs and birthday wishes. I watched it all, trying to reconcile this version of him with the monster I'd been planning to destroy. So, Teresa, Uncle James said, cutting into his steak, Elias tells us you've been doing well with your fitness business. Very well. We're opening our 5th location next month. That's wonderful, honey, Desiree said, patting my hand. Your mother was so proud of what you built. Was she? The question came out sharper than I intended. The table went quiet. Elias cleared his throat. She talked about you constantly, Teresa. Showed everyone pictures of your studios, newspaper articles about your success. She kept a scrapbook. A scrapbook she never showed me. Lindsay shifted uncomfortably. You two had your differences, but she loved you. Differences? I set down my fork. Is that what we're calling 13 years of silence? Teresa, Desiree said gently, your mother made mistakes, but she was trying to protect you. From what? The adults exchanged glances. Even Zoe, who was only 16, seemed to sense the tension. From the truth about your father, Uncle Marcus said finally. I felt my chest tighten. What truth? Elias reached into his jacket and pulled out a small envelope. Your mother asked me to give you this if you ever started asking questions about the divorce. The envelope was sealed, my name written in Mom's handwriting across the front. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a small key. Teresa, the letter began, if you're reading this, it means Elias told you about your father's troubles. I know you'll hate me for keeping this from you, but I couldn't bear to destroy your memory of him while you were still grieving. The key opens a safety deposit box at First National Bank, box 247. Everything you need to know is inside. I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to tell you myself. Love, Mom. I stared at the key, feeling like I was holding a live grenade. She opened the box 3 days before she died, Elias said quietly. Added one more thing to it. What? A letter she wrote to you. Her final letter. Zoe suddenly reached into her purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Actually, Aunt Lena gave me something too. She said to give it to Teresa if she ever came to a family dinner. She handed me the paper. It was a copy of a legal document, an addendum to Mom's will, dated just 2 weeks before her death. In the event that Elias Santiago is found to have committed fraud or financial misconduct during his marriage to Lena Campbell Santiago, all assets and inheritance rights shall revert to Teresa Campbell, with Elias Santiago receiving no compensation or settlement. The room went dead silent. She knew, I whispered. She knew I was investigating you. Elias nodded slowly. She hired a private investigator to watch you. She knew about the shell company, the villa purchase, everything. Then why didn't she stop me? Because she wanted you to find the truth. All of it. Even the parts that would hurt. My phone buzzed. Isaiah calling. I let it go to voicemail. There's something else, Desiree said, reaching into her own purse. Your mother asked me to hold on to this until tonight. She handed me a small digital recorder. What is it? Press play. I pressed the button. Mom's voice filled the dining room, weak but clear. Teresa, if you're hearing this, it means you've started down the path I was too afraid to walk with you. Your father wasn't the man either of us thought he was. But Elias isn't the villain you think he is either. The truth is messier than that. It always is. The recording paused, then continued. I made choices that hurt you. I chose my own survival over your relationship with me. I chose to let you believe lies rather than face difficult truths. I was a coward, and I'm sorry. Another pause. But I also chose to document everything. Every conversation, every financial transaction, every lie, and every truth. It's all in the safety deposit box, including the real reason your father died. The recording ended. I looked around the table at faces that suddenly seemed different. Not conspirators, but people who'd been carrying secrets to protect me. The real reason? I asked. Elias met my eyes. Your father didn't accidentally overdose, Teresa. He left a note. My world tilted sideways. What did it say? That he couldn't live with what he'd done. That he'd rather die than face prison. That he loved you too much to let you watch him fall. I stood up abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. I need air. As I walked toward the exit, I heard Zoe whisper to Lindsay, Is Teresa going to be okay? Lindsay's response followed me out the door. I don't think any of us are going to be okay after tonight. Outside, I finally listened to Isaiah's voicemail. Teresa, I've been digging deeper into those FBI documents. They're real. All of them. Your father was under federal investigation when he died, but there's something else. Something about the timing of his death that doesn't add up. Call me back. I stared at the safety deposit box key in my palm, knowing that whatever was inside would either vindicate my 13-year quest for revenge or destroy everything I thought I knew about my family. Either way, there was no going back now. The bank vault felt like a tomb, cold, sterile, and full of buried secrets. The safety deposit box sat in front of me like Pandora's box, and I was pretty sure I didn't want to know what was inside. Isaiah stood beside me, having driven straight from his office when I called him from the country club parking lot. You sure you want to do this? He asked. No, but I'm doing it anyway. The key turned easily. Inside the long metal box were stacks of documents, photographs, and a sealed envelope marked, "For Teresa, the whole truth." I pulled out the envelope first, my hands trembling. "Teresa," Mom's letter began, "by now you know your father was stealing money. What you don't know is that he was stealing it for you." I stopped reading and looked at Isaiah. "What does that mean?" "Keep reading." "Your college fund was empty by your senior year of high school. Your father had been using it to cover gambling debts. Rather than tell you, he started taking money from his clients to replace what he lost. It started small, a few hundred here and there, but the debts kept growing." My legs felt weak. I sat down in the small chair the bank had provided. "The night before I filed for divorce, your father came to me crying. He said the FBI was closing in. He said he'd rather lose me than watch you find out what he'd done. He begged me to take you and run." I looked up at Isaiah. "She left him to protect me?" "Keep reading." "I couldn't run. You were about to graduate, about to start your life. So I made a deal with Elias. He would help me move the remaining clean money into accounts the FBI couldn't touch. In exchange, I would marry him and give him legal cover as my husband. It was a business arrangement, Teresa. Nothing more." The papers in the box suddenly made sense. Bank transfers, legal documents, FBI correspondence. It was all there. A paper trail of a mother trying to save what she could from her husband's crimes. "But there's something else," the letter continued. "Something I could never tell you while you were grieving." I found the next document. A photocopy of a handwritten note in Dad's writing. "Teresa, I'm sorry for everything. The money, the lies, the pain I've caused. I can't face prison. I can't face you knowing what I really am. By the time you read this, it will be over. Please don't hate your mother. She tried to save us both. Love, Dad." The suicide note I'd never known existed. "He left this on his kitchen table the night he died," Mom's letter explained, "along with a bottle of pills and a glass of water. The coroner ruled it accidental because I asked him to. I couldn't let you carry the burden of knowing your father chose to leave you." I was crying now, tears falling onto the documents. Isaiah, she protected me from everything. The embezzlement, the suicide, all of it. "There's more," he said, pointing to another envelope in the box. This one was marked Recent, 2023. Inside were photographs, bank statements, and what looked like a private investigator's report. "Teresa has been planning something," the report began. "She's incorporated multiple shell companies, hired forensic accountants, and appears to be building a case against Elias Santiago. Subject believes Santiago destroyed her father, but evidence suggests she's operating on false assumptions. Mom had been watching me, documenting my revenge plot while she was dying. Why didn't she stop me?" I asked. Isaiah pulled out the final document, another letter from Mom, this one dated just days before her death. "Teresa, I know you're trying to destroy Elias. I know you think he's the villain in our story, but the real villain was addiction, desperation, and pride. Your father's pride, my pride, even your pride now. Elias saved what he could of our family's money. He gave me a life when I had nothing left. He never asked for love, never demanded more than I could give. He was a good man who made hard choices in an impossible situation. But I also know you need to walk this path yourself. You need to discover the truth in your own way, in your own time. So I'm not going to stop you. I'm going to let you burn it all down if that's what it takes for you to find peace. Just remember, revenge is a fire that burns the person holding it most of all." I sat in that vault for another hour, reading through every document, every photograph, every piece of evidence that painted a completely different picture of my family's history. Dad wasn't a victim. He was a desperate man who made terrible choices. Mom wasn't a traitor. She was a woman trying to salvage something from the wreckage, and Elias wasn't a villain. He was a man who'd spent 13 years being hated for saving what he could. "What are you going to do now?" Isaiah asked as we finally left the bank. I looked at my phone, 17 missed calls from various family members. The birthday dinner had probably ended hours ago. "I'm going to finish what I started." "Teresa, you just learned that everything you believed was wrong. Doesn't that change anything?" "It changes everything, but I've already set things in motion that can't be stopped." I showed him my phone. Raphael called 3 times. The State Bar Association called twice, and there's a voicemail from someone at Channel 7 News. Isaiah grabbed my arm. "You can still call it off. Explain what you found. Apologize." "Apologize for what? For being lied to my entire adult life? For being protected from truths I deserve to know?" I pulled away from him. "No. I'm done being protected. I'm done being kept in the dark. If Mom wanted me to find the truth, then I'm going to make sure everyone else finds it too, even if it destroys innocent people." I thought about Elias, sitting at that birthday dinner, probably wondering if I was going to call off my attack now that I knew the real story. There are no innocent people in this story, Isaiah. Only people who made choices and people who lived with the consequences. "And which one are you?" I smiled, but it felt cold even to me. "I'm about to find out." The phone call came at 6 in the morning. Raphael's voice was tight with barely controlled panic. "Teresa, we need to talk. Now." "What's wrong?" "The State Bar Association received an anonymous package yesterday. Financial documents, witness statements, recordings. They're launching a full investigation into Elias's practice." I sat up in bed, suddenly wide awake. "What kind of recordings?" "Phone calls between you and various family members discussing Elias's alleged misconduct. Someone's been documenting your conversations for weeks." My blood ran cold. "Who?" "I don't know. But whoever it is, they've painted a picture of systematic fraud going back 15 years. Elias has been suspended pending investigation." I hung up and immediately called Isaiah. "Did you record our conversations?" I demanded. "What? No. Teresa, what's going on?" "Someone's been recording me. Someone who knew exactly what I was planning." My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Meet me at the villa. Come alone." Lindsay. An hour later, I found her sitting on the villa's deck, looking out at the ocean. She didn't turn around when I approached. "You've been recording me," I said. "For 6 months. Every phone call, every conversation at family gatherings." She finally faced me. "Your mother asked me to." "Why?" "Because she knew you were going to destroy an innocent man, and she wanted evidence to stop you if it went too far." I sat down across from her, the same spot where Elias had tried to tell me the truth just days before. "So you sent everything to the State Bar?" "I sent them the truth. About your father's embezzlement, about Elias saving what money he could, about your mother's real reasons for the divorce." Lindsay pulled out a tablet and showed me a news article. It's already hitting the media. The headline read, "Local lawyer cleared of fraud allegations. Stepdaughter's revenge plot exposed." They're calling you the villain now, Teresa. The bitter daughter who tried to destroy the man who saved her family's reputation. I stared at the article, feeling something twist in my stomach. This will ruin me. It should. You tried to ruin him first. I didn't know the truth then. You didn't want to know the truth. You wanted revenge more than you wanted facts. Lindsay leaned forward. "Do you know what Elias did when he got suspended yesterday?" I shook my head. He called his clients personally to explain the situation. He arranged for other lawyers to take over their cases at no additional cost. He protected them, even though you were trying to destroy him. My phone rang. Isaiah. "Teresa, where are you? The news vans are outside your apartment building." "I'm at the villa." "Don't come home. Channel 7 is running a story tonight about your revenge plot. They have recordings, documents, everything. I hung up and looked at Lindsay. How much did you give them? Everything. Your shell companies, the villa purchase, your meetings with Raphael, all of it. You destroyed me. You destroyed yourself. I just documented it. My phone buzzed with notifications, social media mentions, news alerts, missed calls from reporters. The story was spreading fast. There's something else, Lindsay said. She pulled out another envelope. Your mother's final instructions, the ones she gave me the day before she died. Inside was a single sheet of paper with Mom's handwriting. If Teresa goes through with her revenge, show her this video. If she doesn't, burn it unopened. Lindsay held up a USB drive. She recorded this 2 weeks before she died, while she was still lucid. She plugged the drive into her tablet. Mom's face appeared on the screen, gaunt from chemo, but her eyes sharp and determined. Teresa, if you're watching this, it means you chose revenge over truth. It means you decided to destroy Elias, even after learning what really happened to our family. I felt tears starting, but I couldn't look away. I'm disappointed in you, not because you wanted justice for your father, but because you wanted it more than you wanted to understand him. Your father was a flawed man who made terrible choices, but he was also a man who loved you so much that he died rather than let you see him fall. Mom paused, coughing slightly. Elias has spent 13 years being hated by you for saving what he could of our lives. He never defended himself because I asked him not to. He never told you the truth because he knew it would hurt you. He's been a better father to you than your biological father ever was, even though you've never given him the chance. The recording showed Mom reaching for something off camera. I'm leaving you a choice, Teresa. You can continue down this path of destruction, or you can choose to be better than your parents were. You can choose forgiveness over revenge, love over hate. She held up a document. This is Elias's original partnership agreement with your father, the one that shows he invested his own money to try to save your father's business, the one that proves he lost everything too when your father's crimes came to light. The video ended. I sat in silence, staring at the blank screen. She gave you every chance to choose differently, Lindsay said. Even after death, she was trying to protect you from yourself. My phone rang. Elias. Teresa? I just saw the news. Are you all right? His first concern was for me, even after everything I'd done to him. Elias, don't apologize. Not yet. Come home. Come to the house. Let's talk about what happens next. The media will be watching your house. Let them watch. It's time this family stopped hiding from the truth. As I drove away from the villa, I passed 3 news vans heading in the opposite direction. The story was just beginning, but for the first time in 13 years, I wasn't sure I wanted to be the one telling it. Elias's house was surrounded by news vans, but he met me at the front door anyway. He looked older than he had just days ago, the weight of public scrutiny etched in the lines around his eyes. Come in, he said simply. The living room was filled with family. Uncle Marcus, Uncle James, Desiree, even Zoe. They all turned to look at me when I walked in, their faces a mixture of disappointment and concern. Well, Uncle Marcus said, this is a hell of a mess. Marcus, Desiree warned. No, he's right, I said, sitting down heavily on the couch. I created this mess. I need to fix it. Elias poured himself a glass of whiskey and offered me one. I shook my head. The state bar cleared me this morning, he said. Lindsay's recordings actually helped prove my innocence. They show you operating on false information, not me committing fraud. I know, I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't undo 13 years of hatred, Teresa. Sorry doesn't bring back your father or change what happened to this family. Uncle James leaned forward. What are you going to do about the media circus? Before I could answer, my phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize. Teresa Campbell? This is Rebecca Martinez from Channel 7 News. We'd like to offer you a chance to tell your side of the story. No comment. We're running a follow-up piece tonight about family revenge plots gone wrong, with or without your input. I hung up and looked around the room. They want to make me the villain, the bitter daughter who tried to destroy her innocent stepfather. Aren't you? Zoe asked quietly. The question hit like a slap, out of the mouths of babes. Yes, I said. I am. Elias set down his glass. No, you're not. You're a daughter who was lied to and manipulated by people who thought they were protecting you. You're a woman who spent 13 years carrying grief that should have been shared. That doesn't excuse what I did. No, it doesn't. But it explains it. Desiree reached into her purse and pulled out a thick envelope. Your mother left one more thing. She gave it to me with instructions to only give it to you if you came here tonight. Inside was a check for $400,000 and a note. This is the money your father stole, plus interest. It belongs to his victims. Do something good with it. I stared at the check, then at Elias. Did you know about this? She told me last week. She'd been tracking down your father's victims for years, trying to figure out how to make restitution without admitting his crimes publicly. There's a list, Desiree added, handing me another paper. 17 families. Some lost their retirement savings. Others lost their children's college funds. I looked at the names, these strangers whose lives my father had damaged. She wanted me to pay them back. She wanted you to choose what kind of person you were going to be, Elias said. The kind who destroys, or the kind who rebuilds. My phone buzzed with a text from Isaiah. Whatever you're thinking of doing, I support you. I stood up and walked to the window. The news vans were still there, cameras pointed at the house like weapons. I need to make a statement, I said. Teresa, don't, Uncle Marcus warned. Anything you say will be twisted. Good. Let them twist it. Let them make me the villain. As long as they get the facts right about everyone else. I opened the front door and walked outside. The reporters swarmed immediately, shoving microphones in my face. Ms. Campbell, do you regret your actions? Ms. Campbell, what do you say to people calling this a revenge plot? I held up my hand for silence. I have a statement. The cameras rolled. My name is Teresa Campbell. For 13 years, I believed my stepfather Elias Santiago destroyed my family. I was wrong. My father destroyed our family through his own choices and actions. Elias Santiago saved what he could from the wreckage. The reporters started shouting questions, but I continued. I spent years planning revenge against an innocent man. I used my mother's death as an excuse to attack someone who had done nothing but try to protect our family's reputation and honor my father's memory. Are you apologizing? One reporter called out. I'm taking responsibility. There's a difference. I held up the check. This is $400,000 that will be distributed to the families my father harmed through his embezzlement. It won't undo the damage, but it's a start. Where did the money come from? My mother. She spent years trying to figure out how to make things right. I'm just following through on her wishes. I turned to go back inside, then stopped. One more thing. Elias Santiago is a good man who spent 13 years being hated for trying to do the right thing. If you want a villain in this story, look at me. If you want a hero, look at him. Inside, the family was watching the news coverage on TV. The chyron read, Daughter takes responsibility for false revenge plot. Well, Uncle James said, that should shut them up. Elias walked over to me. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I still have to live with what I've done. We all do. That's what family means. He handed me a small wrapped box. Your mother asked me to give you this if you ever came home. Inside was a simple silver bracelet with an inscription: "Truth is the only revenge worth taking." I put it on, feeling the weight of it against my wrist. "So what now?" Zoe asked. I looked around the room at these people who had every right to hate me, but were choosing to forgive me instead. Now I figure out how to be the daughter she wanted me to be, instead of the one my anger made me become. Elias smiled for the first time in days. That sounds like a good place to start. Outside, the news vans were already packing up, moving on to the next story. But inside this house, the real work was just beginning. Some ghosts settle in memory. Others knock back. I opened the door.